Okay, I think we're live. So welcome to the second online tutorial for the Google PageSpeed Race 2018. For those who haven't seen the first one, my name is Lars and I work as a mobile specialist here in the Google Hamburg office. And today I'm joined by my colleague Daniel, who is a mobile solution engineer. Daniel, would you like to introduce yourself shortly to the audience?
Yes, I am Adam. Joined last time for the video. I'm joining this time. He's my teammate, and we work on mobile solutions. Okay, and we offer technical troubleshooting for partners, and we work on speed. We work on progressive web apps, AMPs, and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So today we again have a bunch of exciting topics that we would like to go through with you. So I would like to switch over to the agenda. So if we just go to the next slide. So what we'll discuss today, first we'll do a quick recap of the first online tutorial for those who didn't get a chance to watch it yet or just want a quick refresher on what we've discussed there. We'll look at the race progress and the Data Studio dashboard, and then we'll dive into more advanced image optimization techniques. We'll look at WebP, base 64, lazy loading, and more. And then we also look at gzip compression and caching static assets. And with that, I'd like to start to just give you a quick recap of the first online tutorial. So going on to the next slide. So last week, well, it wasn't last week, it was actually 2 to 3 weeks ago, we discussed the so-called need for speed, and we looked at reasons why it's so important to improve page speed. We looked at the perception of speed of the users. We looked at 3 stats that I just quickly want to flash up that that should always be top of mind. The 53% of users that leave your website, your mobile site, if your page load takes longer than 3 seconds. Also about 1/3 of smartphone users moving on to a different website if your site is difficult to use or load slowly. And also the fact that unhappy users do not return to your website. It really goes back to the saying that the first impression is the last impression. So it's important to have a good first impression of your website. Then we looked at the competition dashboard, which we'll dive in again in a few seconds to look at the progress that you guys have made. We looked at the Lighthouse tool, which is a tool that you guys all can use, which is a great website testing tool for a comprehensive evaluation of your website, of your mobile performance that you can run through 3 different ways: through the Lighthouse extension, through the command line, or also through the dev tools that we've demoed. Then we also looked at the test environment for this race. And then we started looking at one of the major levers for site speed, mobile site speed performance improvements, which is image optimization. So we looked at a bit around compression, sliders, to not use sliders, and also how you download and shrink and download and hide. This is where we're going to continue, where Daniel is going to continue later on. So with that, first, before we look at the progress, I just want to remind you where we are in terms of timelines for this page speed race. So as you can see, we're at around end of April, meaning we have about 1/3 of the race over. We've seen that a lot of people, a lot of websites already have had a couple of improvements, which is wonderful to see. You still have 2 months to implement things that you've seen during these online tutorials, but also through the newsletters that we've sent you. And then there's going to be at least one more online tutorial after this one, and a bunch of additional newsletters. And the race is going to end on June 28th. All right, so with that, let's see. Oh yeah, so I would like to look into the dashboard, the Data Studio dashboard itself. So maybe if we can switch to that. One thing I would like to call out as Daniel's putting up the dashboard is that I had asked for all participants that want to have access to the dashboard to just send me or us an email to pagespeedrace@google.com, and then we can give you guys access on a one-to-one basis. This was a little bit misleading in the first online tutorial, so you guys cannot share this dashboard to other folks, but you will have to reach out to us, and we'll provide access to whoever wants to get access. Okay, so a couple of things that you can see here initially is if so you see the company analysis here on the left-hand side on the top. If we sort by the change in Lighthouse performance score on the right, you can see that we have a couple that have already driven quite a bit of change, between 12 and 20 points improvements, which is wonderful to see. One thing that I'd like to call out here is that in general, changes of around 10 points on a day-to-day basis are or can be in the norm due to the test environment, meaning you may not have changed anything on your website, and a test result might have a variance of up to 10 points. That's why in this dashboard here on the top, we've included in the third column the 3-day average Lighthouse performance score, which should be a lot more meaningful and should be a metric that is a lot more reliable that you should look at. Another thing that I'd like to call out here is if you click onto the next second level detail. So these 5 metrics around first meaningful pain, first interactive, so the time metrics are the ones that influence the Lighthouse performance score. And so here, what I would encourage you all to do is to look at results that are, or let's say developments that you can observe during a longer period of time. If there is a spike just for one day, it doesn't mean that this is a continuous or a long-standing problem. It might be just that this one test might not have gone perfectly well.
Yeah, it could be that for any reason Lighthouse didn't detect that metric. Okay, so they missed just, so sometimes the value is null or it's not real one. Mm-hmm. So don't pay big attention to
those outliers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think one other thing that we'd like to call out is use the second level detail pages, which is page 3 and page 4, as an example.
Yes, they especially because they flag opportunities. So the previous one was flagging metrics, okay, and they are compute to get the Lighthouse score. But the page 3 and 4 it's showing opportunities, most of them in milliseconds, and that kind of shows an estimation of milliseconds that you could save if you work on redirects or if you want to time to first byte. Okay, so here again, if you see, like, if you are this purple one, okay, for some reason that day one redirect took more time, okay, so that's just very how to say, just momentum.
Yeah.
Okay, but maybe we should be paying attention if we are like the purple one, which has unstable.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means that with redirect we could save, I don't know, around 2,000. That could be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we should pay attention to this one, for example. Okay. The same way to time to first byte. For that reason, or for any reason, maybe that day we have some peaks. Okay. For those days, maybe there was the overloaded in the server, so it responds too late, okay? But maybe if you are the orange one, okay, which is always on top, maybe something you should at least check and analyze why it's serving so late.
Yeah, it could point to continuous overload of service, which is then something you might want to take a second level look at.
Yeah, and kind of similar with the rest of the metrics as well.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, here this is a peak. Okay, that's not important because apparently it was solved from April 4. The purple one is already 0, so apparently they are using responsive images. However, the orange one, has a potential saving of some milliseconds. Okay, if they really work on responsive images.
Mm-hmm. So we did get quite a lot of questions also around the metrics that are observed here, and questions on how you can improve some of the metrics. And I'd just encourage you to continue to reach out. We know a lot of you are already actively working on your websites. Please continue to ask us any questions that you have.
Yeah, and if you run your own lighthouse test, okay, you can get an explanation of every metric, how it's calculated, how to improve it, and everything.
So any further or more information about how to use the dashboard, how to do the tests yourself, we explained all of this in the first online tutorial, so feel free to just take a look at it again by going either to the newsletter that we sent you or back to the events page where we've uploaded that video. Cool. So with that, I think we can start with the fresh material that we have for this session today, and I will hand it over to Daniel to take it from here.
Cool. Then I will take it from here. We are still, those are stats from last year, so 60%, 1.7 out of 3 in the average page size. Okay, page size, sorry. 1.7 are images, so 60% are still images. So we mentioned images in the last session. Okay, we mentioned responsiveness. Okay, we mentioned compress as well, and of course hide and show. Okay, those are the basics. And today I want to go through the more advanced techniques when it comes to image optimization. Okay. Yeah. So about basic of which type of or which image formats to use. Okay, we all know JPEG, PNGs, SVGs, and GIFs, of course, but sometimes we see that they are not properly used. Okay, so I just want to call this out. Okay? So that you are using especially the proper image type for the adequate image. Okay, so if you want to have pictures like images, okay, proper photos, you should use JPEGs. You should use JPEG in your as a image type. Okay, they are fully supported and they are smaller in size. Okay, one suggestion to compress JPEGs could be Witzly. Okay, it's a compression algorithm. It claims to reduce in 20-30% the size. And one downside I would like to mention is that sometimes it's a bit slow process. Okay, that's something to take into account as well. Okay, we also see a lot of PNGs, of course, used for icons and transparencies. Okay, it's fine. And then SVGs, and I would really recommend to switch to and try to convert to SVGs as much icons as you can. Okay, they have high compression ratio. Okay, because we can compress them with gzip, that's text, and if we can even optimize them instead of using image paths. Okay, inside the SVG we could use elements like shapes like circle, line, and so on, and that way we can optimize even more the SVG file. Okay, and of course GIFs for animations, like always. Okay, so we have this general picture. Okay, I would like to mention progressive JPEGs. Progressive JPEGs helps us having a kind of low resolution, okay, preview. Okay, it feels faster for the user. Okay, because we are showing here on the right, on the bottom side, we can see how we are showing something to the user. Okay, however, using the baseline JPEG, we have to wait and wait and wait, and this, this kind of white space is not the best for the user. Okay. So that's why I would encourage you to try. Okay, for users' perspective, the feeling is much a perception of a faster page. Okay, and of course the feeling for the user is much better. They compress as well better than the baseline JPEGs. Okay, generally, and consuming less bandwidth, up to 2 or 10% less bandwidth. Okay, but it has one downside. I'll mention it here. They are slower to decode. Okay, they need more CPU usage because basically we are decoding the image every time, multiple times. Okay, so that needs a lot of CPU, and if we are in an iPhone or if we are on desktop, that's fine. But if we are in I don't know, in the average Android device, that's not so, So it's something you have to always think: which users do you have? Okay, and of course test. Maybe you can test the whole images of your site like progressive. If not, you can maybe try it with your hero image. Okay, that's something I would recommend. Experiment.
For the perception of speed, obviously the progressive JPEGs give a much better perception for the end user, who then can see immediately the image or can anticipate what the image is going to be about and sees the full image, and then it just gets better quality-wise as it fully loads.
Yeah, the user can decide better if they want to keep reading or. And metrics like the speed index, for example, will catch that. Okay, so we will have a lower speed index. Okay, and tools to create those ones, there are many out there, like Image Magic, Image Mean. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Those are WebP formats. Okay, those are next generation web formats, image formats especially made for webs. They claim to be, they are 26% smaller than PNGs. Okay, improvements as well for JPEGs, 25 to 34. They support, and this is very good, transparency and animation as well. Okay, you can see how PNGs, we can convert them to lossless, of course, or lossy compression. Okay, and of course they have a 10% improvement in the compression. Okay, WebP images, they are compressed using predictive encoding. Okay, this means using the values of neighboring blocks of pixels. Okay, and predict that value of the next block and encode only the difference. Okay. That's how we are achieving a smaller size of the file. Okay. Main downside: browser support. Okay, not all users will benefit from this. Okay, but I'm sure a big part of most of your users are on Chrome. Okay, so take this as an extra enhancement. Okay, and those users that really support WebP will have a really good benefit, and they will feel that a faster loading on the page. Okay, Opera and Chrome are supporting it, and I know there were some tests on Safari and Mozilla, but nothing. Okay, I would like to show here something like how big players are using it already. For example, here we can see how Netflix is using it. Okay, they are using, of course, as well some JPEGs, but they are using WebP images. Okay.
Would you be able to say, for instance, in this Netflix example, why are they using a combination of JPEGs and WebP? Is it something that they might be trying out? Is this something that you?
I suppose for any reason they will consider that JPEGs are better in this case, and WebP. I think the hero image, if this is a WebP. Okay, so sometimes depending on how they are loading, if they are more dynamic images like suggested ones, maybe they are coming from JPEGs, but they shouldn't be. It shouldn't be any reason they could perfectly do all of them in one piece. Yeah. Of course, if I switch to Mac and reload, okay, simulating all of them, I will get JPEGs,
right?
Because it's not supported. So don't worry about about other users not getting the image. Okay, we'll talk about that now as well, how to do that. Okay, so before I forget, tools to do this, there are image min as well, CWebP, WebP Max, give to WebP, okay, some CDNs as well, they're automating this conversion. These are tools as well to remove all the metadata, you know, all the information that the pictures, photos have, location, use, time, and all that stuff can be removed as well if we need, because generally it's not necessary for the web.
Makes sense.
So there are also other web-oriented image formats, okay, JPEG 2000 for Safari, okay, for Edge as well, and the most JPEG for Mozilla, which claims to have to save 10% as well of image size. All of them can be in some way combined, okay, and let the browser decide, okay. So with the picture tag, okay, the browser itself is capable to decide which image is better for the user in that case. So inside the image tag, we can put a source tag and the image tag. Okay, so we can utilize as many source tags as much as we want. Okay, but always keep in mind that we have to keep a proper order. Okay, so the browser will first start from the certain source tag, and then it will try to request. If it's not supported because it's a WebP, then I will go to the image tag, like a kind of fallback, and I will request the JPEG that everyone supports. Okay, so I could make it even more complex. Okay, and first this one, JXR, then JP2, and then WebP, and if not, okay. If I put first the JPEG, don't do that, okay, because then we will request always the JPEG.
Right.
Okay, but this is a way of, on the user side, to decide which is better for me. Okay, and source and image, remember, it can be combined with the source parameter as well, and we can instead of one, like in this case, we can mention 2 or 3 of them and work with responsive images as well. Same way. Okay, that would be one option. The other option could be maybe a bit more advanced, like decided on our side. So when the user will just have the URL, I will request that URL from the user agent. We can, even though they are requesting a JPEG, we know it's coming from Chrome. Maybe we are able to switch and give them a WebP. Okay.
So really, there's no danger in trying out these different innovative formats, considering you can always have a fallback JPEG in the end. Exactly,
not at all. Okay, at the end, it's always that one there. Okay, can be responsive as well. Okay, so I think it's completely worth trying. Yes, because we saw here, like the numbers are super good. And many Amazon, eBay, we saw Netflix, they are using it as well. Okay. So base 64, I'm sure you know it. It's a kind of maybe old practice, but it's good to consider, I would say. Okay, so consists on shipping your images through encoder and get them in base 64, and then inline that in the HTML. Okay. Benefits: we don't need the extra image request. Okay, so because everything is in line, so we'll have a faster first impression. Okay, we don't need to wait to discover the source image of the image, go request it, get the answer, download it, and all the stuff. Okay. Sometimes it can be that the decoded image size could be a bit bigger, okay, than the image itself. Okay. Think about this, okay, as a solution, you know, to get a fast impression. So maybe you shouldn't base 64 encode all your images, but sometimes we see that many partners are using sprites, okay, and the sprites takes a lot of time to download. And sometimes you just need like the hamburger menu, the icon, and the basket, for example. Those 3 icons are waiting to be painted because we cannot paint them because the sprite is still being downloaded. Okay, so in those cases, we could inline those 3 icons, and we'll get a super fast impression. Okay, so One more demo here. Here, these guys, okay, as a background image, they are, okay, we can see it here. It's there in line. This article about, okay, page 64 as well. They are encoding everything here. Okay. Next one. Yep. Low quality image placeholder. Okay, quite advanced technique as well. Consists on showing to the user very fast a low quality image. Okay, and then swap it with the original image. Okay, so we can, for example, load the image, the original one, okay, in a hidden image tag, okay, and when fully load, then we switch them, okay. How to create that that placeholder? Okay, there are many different techniques. One could be, for example, blur up, which consists on creating a very small version of the original file, like 50 pixel wide, for example, and then make it huge. Okay, so it will be blurry and it will be kind of something like this. Okay. There are also many other tools like SQIP, okay, which consists on creating the placeholder, okay, based on geometrical, simple geometrical forms. Okay, so this tool is kind of, I don't have it here. Okay, it's based on primitive. Okay. Okay, so kind of create something like this with SVG forms. Okay, then we apply a filter to blur it a little, and then we can get such an image. Okay, with very low image size. Okay, this way we'll get faster first impressions, faster time to interactive. Okay, and a very good user experience, of course. And I will like to show one example here. Okay. So I'm in fast 3G, okay, and if I reload, okay, medium is doing this already, okay. Many players are doing that. Look how it changes the screen, okay. So first we have this one, which is a very small image, okay, and then where is it? Then the big one is requested here, okay, and we switch it. In this case, you can see that this is quite big. Of course, in my opinion, this should be as well responsive. Okay, so it should be a smaller image. Okay, but this way they are doing a fast impression super fast. Okay, something to the user. Very good there. Here. Okay, and we don't have this white space, this layout and stuff.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second.
Okay, sure.
So what would you say is the main difference between swapping images, and as we've seen here, versus using progressive JPEGs that load slowly and get better and better?
From user side, it's quite similar. Okay, it's showing something to the user, some kind of estimation of what they are getting, so they can continue navigate. They know if they like it or not. So, and let's say like the screen is full of content, okay? And then the original image comes. In progressive web packs, we have just one file, okay, which is the image, okay? It loads progressively, okay? Here, we have two files. So we have first the low quality image and then the other one. And then technically, we have to switch it, okay? When this one has been downloaded, then we switch it.
But we wouldn't be able to say that whether there is a certain performance of the loading that is better, which prefers one of these formats.
No. Of course, you need some extra JavaScript to switch that, but that's not big. JavaScript that should influence much. No. Yeah. Again, try to test one of them, okay? Maybe you would like more of the other one. This could be also a web solution for the hero image, maybe not all of them. Or when you do lazy loading, for example, okay, combine it with lazy loading, load all the low quality ones, and then when the user scrolls down, then you request the original one, okay? Something like that. Okay, then lazy loading, okay? If you have a long product list or a long category list, okay, sometimes we find that we have a lot of image requests, okay? Those images, sometimes they are not even shown to the users because they don't scroll down, okay, to the bottom of the page. They continue shopping, they don't need so much. We also, in case, for example, we have carousels, okay, like with 9 positions, we sometimes load all of them, right? And the user almost, they don't even click in there, or they don't even reach those positions, okay? So use lazy loading because we'll save bandwidth, okay, and because we will save in page size, okay? If you are an HTTP1, okay, having a lot of images, okay, will take slots and will queue a lot of, will have a long queuing of the images, let's say, okay? So that will be problematic, okay? And at the same time, of course, those images are fighting for bandwidth with the real content that we need, okay? With the real above the fold content. So try to just serve to the users what is necessary, okay? And load on demand. There are many tools out there for lazy loading. Lazy sizes is one of them, okay? As you can see, as the user scrolls down, so the images are being requested one, second one, third one, and so on, okay? So that can be, of course, combined with responsive images as well, okay? So think about if lazy loading will be beneficial for you. If you have a lot of images, of course, go for that. If you have 3 or 4 images on your site, okay, even though some tools like Lighthouse will flag, okay, you have off-screen images, think that sometimes, in my opinion, if you have just few images under below default, maybe it's not worth to use lazy loading because you need to load the library and all, you know, it has some extra JavaScript that just to save the size of 3 images is not worth it, okay? So if you have just few images, just optimize them and maybe you don't need this. But if you have a lot of them, it would be very useful. Okay, and the second one is sprite maps. Okay, and sprite is a collection of images, okay, put into a single one, okay? The aim of this is to avoid or to reduce the number of requests, okay, to avoid having one request for every little image. So instead of that, we put them all together, okay, and then we share the image, and then we take the icons we need from that image. So far, everything was good until HTTP2 arrived, okay? So we were recommending, of course, to put all the sprites together because queuing is not good, queuing of requests was not good, it was delaying the painting of the page. Okay, so if you are in HTTP1 still, keep using them, okay? Keep using them as always, of course. But if you are thinking of moving to HTTP2, or you are already in HTTP2, and I think sooner or later, most of you will be in HTTP2, that's not a best practice anymore, okay? So I don't recommend to use sprites, okay? Sprites, of course, bundling JavaScript and stuff. We'll mention that in the next video. Why exactly? Because the multiplexing, okay, comes into play. Okay, I will mention that now. And having many requests is not costly anymore. Okay, it doesn't cost. It doesn't influence on the performance of the page
on HTTP2.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are in HTTP2 and you have all the sprites, okay, don't prioritize and don't start. Oh, we have to, you know, now work on separating again of the icons, okay? But if you are going to create sprites, forget it if you are moving to HTTP2, okay? And the problem I mentioned before, sometimes we have problems to load those will, for example, the icon there at the menu, we need that quite fast, no, for the user, and sometimes they have to wait for the whole sprite, which could be quite big. Okay, so separating them, if we're in HTTP2, will average, and if we optimize that the position of those images in the HTML, we'll have them much faster. Okay, we'll leverage as well from caching, because if a little icon changes, before we used to change the whole sprite, okay, and load it again. However, now we will just change one of them if you are in HTTP2. Okay. HTTP1 and HTTP2, I'm sure you know it and you have seen the benefits of it, but I think it's worth mentioning it. Especially new features come, but especially multiplexing comes to play, okay? And it allows multiple and asynchronous HTTP requests under one single connection, okay? Initially in HTTP1, depending on the browser, but Chrome, for example, had 6 slots for every domain. Okay, so if we are requesting a lot of images, we have to wait for them to queue and to find a new slot and then jump and start being downloaded. However, with HTTP2, we don't have that problem. Okay, and they are all under the same connection. They are all asynchronously requested.
So multitasking doesn't work for HTTP1, but it works on HTTP2.
Yes. And I will do a demo now, but first, of course, then if you are in HTTP2, avoid spriting. Okay, what I mentioned, CSS and JavaScript bundling is not recommended anymore. Okay, and then domain sharding, of course, is not a best practice. In HTTP1, it was common to avoid just to queue for 6 resources. We were separating those resources in different domains. Okay, so we could make kind of a request asynchronously. Okay, but that's not necessary anymore. Okay, and I will show you here. I will do a request, okay, with 200 milliseconds latency. I am under fast 3G, okay, and look how it loads in HTTP1, okay. So images are coming slowly, but they are coming. Okay. Take some time. Okay, this is not fully loaded. You can see how here, okay, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and when one slot finishes, the other one enters, and so on. Okay, so they are queuing all these gray or white bars. Okay, they are stalled. They are queuing. That means the browser is waiting for a new connection to be free, and then jump and request.
So this is on HTTP1.
This is on HTTP1. Okay, this is a very cool demo. If I click here and I do in HTTP2, same connection and same latency, okay, you see how it's much faster. Okay. I don't know why it's not fully loading. Okay, there. All right. Okay, you can see how all of them are together. And if you here right click, connect connection ID, and they're the same connection ID. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In HTTP1, right, you have 6 connections.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a great illustration.
So the benefits are there, especially for pages with a lot of resources and a lot of requests. Okay. One note: if you are in HTTP1 and you are still there, I would recommend to aim to 40 to 60 requests. Okay, more than 60 requests for a single page, it's already too much. Okay, but that's not a recommended number anymore if you are in HTTP2. Cool. I will present, and then last 2 topics. Okay, UZIP compression. You know that most of you are doing it, but keep also sometimes running Lighthouse because this flag, for some reasons, sometimes you stop compressing, okay, and the server, or you forget to compress some files, okay, and we see that a lot, that you are forgetting to compress to gzip SVG files. SVG files are text as well, okay, so the compression ratio is super big, so try compress them as well, the same way you are doing JavaScript, CSS, and HTML, okay. This way we have smaller files, they download faster, and of course with less data. Yeah.
I think just in terms of prioritization for what's the biggest bang for your buck, let's say, right? We started with images because images is usually where you can find the most potential to improvements. In this case,
if you have the thing is that this is so easy to implement, okay? You just need to set to your server which files to gzip, which extension of files to gzip, and it's done. You don't need to do anything else. So this is something you must do, okay? Of course, if you don't have a lot of text files, you have a lot of images, this won't bring you much, but it's also good to compress. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of prioritization,
I will do this because
it's so easy to
do. Because it's so easy to do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Of course, images are more time consuming, okay? They are a bit more complex when automating, especially on that, but at the end it brings a lot of benefits. And leverage caching, okay? We normally simulate for third-party, for users coming for first time, okay? But we should also think, okay, of users coming the following visits. So use always caching headers, okay, and leverage caching as much as you can, okay. Of course, it will bring performance benefits. Pages will load, not for first user, but for the rest one, which will load much faster, will save bandwidth, and reduce the service costs. Okay, so keep always in mind two things. Use max age, okay, long max age, especially for resources or for files that won't change. Okay, if you append the version of the file to that URL, more probably that file won't change. Okay, so you can use a long max age, okay? And combine it as well with the ETAG. Okay, the ETAG tells the browser the version of that file. This means if the browser has an old file which the max age has expired, okay, the browser says, okay, I have this, it's old, so I will request a new one. And you tell to the browser to the server, I need this resource. I have this one which is old. Is it still valid? And with the ETAG, they can check that, and yes, it's valid. So we don't need to download it again. We just check that. Okay, and you can see all that in the headers here. Okay, so here we are content encoding. Okay, it tells the browser. The browser in the request. In the request, you tell which compression do you accept. Okay, and of course you send the JavaScript file in this case with the ETAG. Okay, and the max age in seconds. Okay, you attend to the browser. Keep this. This is valid for I don't know 3 million or what? Yeah, 31 million seconds. Okay. Feel free of making this as large as you want if you are sure that the content of that URL will never change. Okay.
I think one of the questions that we get a lot: to which extent should we do caching if our content is refreshing on a regular basis?
Depending on that regular basis, okay. Play with the max age and play with the ETAG. Okay. If you think, don't be too optimistic or don't give a huge max age if you think that the file is going to change. Okay, it's better because then you will be still giving to the user an old version. Okay, so and we never want that. So if just max age, set to max age to the time that you are sure that the request won't change. Okay, and then if it doesn't change, we still have the ETAG that will check that it's the same version. Okay.
Perfect.
Good. Okay. So I think
that's
all.
That's all we have. Well, there was quite a lot. At least I can say I've learned a lot already today. But to quickly try to summarize all the things that Daniel just demonstrated and showed us. So Daniel showed us how to use progressive JPEGs instead of baseline JPEGs, trying to use as much as possible the innovative or new image formats like WebP, or then for the other browsers, the other formats, but always making sure that you use JPEGs as a fallback. Also how to use lazy loading, leverage lazy loading in order to prioritize the above the fold content. One thing I almost forgot to mention is on the image, so using low quality image placeholders is an alternative to using then progressive JPEGs instead of baseline JPEGs. Avoiding sprites when you use HTTP2.
Exactly.
Yeah, because HTTP2 now can multitask. And compress SVG files and leverage caching as much as possible, even if you have content that gets refreshed. There's ways in order to make sure that these types of contents continue to get refreshed, even though you leverage caching.
Very good. Great summary.
Yeah, is that a good summary?
Perfect.
Good. Excellent. So please send us questions to any of the things that we've shown today. Also input for future video seminars that you might have. The email address to send us feedback and input is very straightforward, pagespeedrace@google.com. And with that, we wish you happy hacking, happy improving, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. Bye.